You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
Well, good Monday morning, everybody. I am Glenn the Geek in Ocala, Florida.
And I'm Jamie Jennings in a very warm, sunny Oklahoma. Shut up. Shut up. In Norman, you're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for Monday, January 15th, episode 30,343, brought to you today by WERM Flooring. Happy Martin Luther King Day.
I have good news and bad news for you on this Monday morning. First, the bad. It's Monday. But the good news is really good. Jamie and Glenn are here to guide you through another week filled with horse talk and a whole lot of fun. Welcome to Horses in the Morning.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning. And we have a jam-packed show for you today. Our Trailer 101 series continues with Brad. He's going to dispel some of the popular myths and misconceptions about trailers. We have Kaleigh Marie. She's going to join us from Braveheart Beasts, and she's going to tell us about her upcoming adventure, I think next week, to the Gobi Cold Camel Expedition in Mongolia. Why? I don't know. That's what we're going to ask. And Jamie has the results of our informal dog poll. We're going to talk.
I mean, dude, this thing took me like 4 hours to put together. I did so much research and contacted people all over the United States to find this out. And again, remember, it's garbage, but it's my garbage.
Well, you know what? Our polls can be as bad as some of the other polls we read. I mean, we had some terrible ones last week. We might as well do our own.
Exactly.
And in the Auditor Post Show, we're going to do your equestrian first world problems. But God, the cold. Oh my God. Some of you, I just have been watching your pictures of the snow and the minus 20 and the wind chills of minus 50. And you're what, at 2, right? Or 3 or something.
Listen, I don't understand what this garbage is of what the current temperature is and then what the feels like is. And I'm doing air quotes with my fingers when I say feels like, because currently it's gone all the way up to 4, but the feels like outside is negative 11.
Does it feel like a negative 11 or does it just feel cold at that point?
All I can tell you is that my dogs said it was very cold when I let them out and they pooped and they ran right back in.
One of ours would not go out, would just refuse to go out during those temperatures.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun, huh? And, I saw 4 to 6 inches. We have a lot of listeners in Tennessee. 4 to 6 inches of snow in Tennessee, with Mississippi and Alabama even getting some. I mean, well,
much to my son's dismay, we got just a dusting of snow yesterday. So. No, school was not canceled.
Oh, he's probably the only place in the country this school's not canceled right now.
Oh, he was so mad. He's like, it's MLK Day and it's 11 below. Why are we going to school?
Yeah, a lot of school districts are closed for that too, So.
Well, he just came back from a 3-week break for Christmas. So it's like, dude, get in the car.
That's right. They did have a really long Christmas break.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some daily Whinnies. I have several auditor birthdays today. Amanda Haas, Mackenzie Loper, Elizabeth Toby, Carmel Dunlap, and Alex Sherman. Happy birthday to all of them. And guess what else happened this weekend? So we went up to the farm. We took the ponies up. They needed to get a change of scenery for a couple of days. And it even got chilly here in Florida, not like you, but it was down into almost 30s. So we brought them up there. And guess who came to see us on Sunday morning? They were in town. Lorene, remember Lorene from Really Bad Ads every Friday for the last 10 years?
Of course. She's one of the highest contributors to this podcast.
That's correct. She's a celebrity now, and I told her that when she got there. So Lorene was in town for her birthday. She went to the World Equestrian Center, stayed at the World Equestrian Center in the hotel, ate at the expensive restaurant, and her daughter, Alicia, came up. They drove up to the farm and spent a couple hours visiting with us, and that was very lovely. So I got to tell you a funny story. I don't know if she wants me to tell this, but she didn't say not to. So they're staying.
And that's the first rule of radio is right. Everything's fair game unless you say it's not.
It was so much fun to see her because we've heard her every week.
Hi, I'm Laureen Bodden. I'm going to tell you a really bad ad.
That's
it. Oh, my
it.
God, I love her so much.
That's it. So they had breakfast Sunday morning before they came up, and they decided instead of going to the expensive restaurant downstairs at the World Equestrian Center, they would order room service. They got 2 avocado toast and a fruit plate. It was $82.
That's really stupid.
So there you go. Anybody wanting to stay at the World Equestrian Center, bring your credit card. You're going to need it. But it was so much fun to see you too. I'm so glad you visited, and look forward to seeing you again at some point. It was a lot of fun.
I hate to even tell this story because I know what you're going to say, and it's not going to be good. But I did something really exciting and also probably pretty stupid. And every story should start out with exciting and stupid. So remember, I told you last Friday, I was waiting on the videos. So I had this idea. I've been kind of depressed. I've had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. And I was like, you know what I need is I need a challenge. So what I just dreamed up in my mind, I was like, I want to find very specific request to find I want a 14 to 14 two-hand pinto gelding working ranch horse, not a show horse, but like a horse that's like working the feedlots, that's working out, like doing stuff. And my friends sent me this video or an ad for a 14-2 pinto gelding. Oh, by the way, under 10 and under $2,500 for the other 2 things. Pony that's been working the feedlots and been used for hog hunting. Okay. And I was like, that is my horse, but it's 2.5 hours away. I'm not going to drive and see it without video. So I was waiting on the videos during the show last Friday. Well, they sent me the videos and he's sound, and he was being ridden by a 6'2" tall farm boy, basically. Just looked just like Barrett, bless his heart. And sent me the video, and it's one of those things where you see the video and you're like, oh my God, just put him in the trailer. Just send him just put him in the trailer. So I messaged him. I'm like, okay. He looked sound enough. I mean, he like whinnied in the video, and the guy was like, shut up, and like ripped his face off, just one of those, like, he's working, but he's not super enjoying it. You know what I mean? And my goal was on Friday, I told you, I want to find a horse that has never been kissed on the nose. And I want to take this like working horse and make him into a fancy show pony, an eventer, a hunter. I don't know, whatever he wants to do, but let's transform this working Western horse into a working English horse and see what we can do. And so I was like, that's cool. So he filled every slot, and he needed me. So I said, okay, listen, this cold is coming in. How much to just bring him to me? I'm not going to go look at him. Just how much to deliver him?
Because that never has gone wrong before.
What could possibly go wrong, Glenn?
This is the thing we tell people not to do.
I always tell people, listen, do not use me as an example. I buy horses on online auctions. I buy crippled horses because I feel sorry for them. Maverick, it's perfect. Just put him in the trailer. And so this situation, I was like, just put him in the trailer. I mean, he, like, every video, he is like wide-eyed and freaked out looking, and just like he's being ridden by this giant human, and they canter him up and down, and they're cantering him like he's being ridden. And again, these people were very, very nice to me. And they're riding him up and down. It's like a cattle auction. And so he's kind of in between stalls of cows, and he's being ridden up and back and turning him around, and he looks relatively sound. So, okay, it's fine. Just put him in the trailer. So I'm like, when can you get him here? And he's like, well, ma'am, the cold's coming in. I was ma'am the whole time. Yes, sir. I understand that. He's like, we'll get him going right now. I'll have him there by 5. I was like, it's 2. Okay. Okay, cool. So I need to go to the ATM.
Next week sometime.
Yeah, exactly. After the storm. But I was like, oh my God, I got to have him before the storm because they're not going to love him like I'm going to love him in the middle of a storm. So they deliver him and he's like, I'm going to have my son bring him. And so his 16-year-old son rolls up at 5 p.m. Oh, and again, I'm not trying to disparage the facilities that other people have, but like, in really bad ads, those trailers that have no roof.
Yeah.
Yeah. He arrived in that and it was like 20 degrees outside. Like it was plummeting. And probably by the time they got here, it was like 15 degrees. And this horse had no.
So it was the open air trailer with just the framing?
Convertible.
Yeah.
Convertible. There was like a little
stock
bar
trailer
that went over the top. Yeah. Stock trailer. I mean, this horse is in the wind.
Cows and something.
I did take pictures of it, I snuck some pictures because I was like, nobody's going to believe this. I can't believe he just rode for 3 hours in the freezing cold. And so he's like, I'll get him out, ma'am, goes to get him out. Glenn, this horse stepped down off the ramp. And when I say horse, I don't mean horse. This thing is like 13 too. It is a tiny pony.
Lucas now has a pony.
It's a pony. You remember Precious Magic Gallop Jennings, the little black Mustang I trained? Well, it's like that size.
It's good you're a little thing.
I can still ride it. Thank goodness. So I let him around and I'm like, okay.
Ponies go for big bucks now, though.
Trained ponies,
yeah,
Glenn.
Yeah.
Trained ponies. Yeah. Here's the thing. This little pony definitely has never been kissed on the nose because you can't touch his face. You can't come anywhere near his face. And they did tell me, they were like, he's real hard to bridle. And so I don't even know how old he is. And so I'm like, I need to look at his teeth. I'm going to look at his teeth. And I go to touch his face and he won't let me touch his face. And so finally I get to where I can get my hand on the side of his muzzle. It takes me about 5 minutes, but and he has lacerations on his cheeks, like where the bit has been pulled back. Mm-hmm. And so he has cuts in the corners of his mouth. No wonder he doesn't want you to touch his face. Yeah. No wonder he doesn't want to take the bit. And so I think this little pony was just
wanted it
to work. Yeah. Yeah. And I also, he doesn't want to be haltered, or caught. So, all of these are problems that I love. Like, I love this. I called my vet. I have a new vet and I called her and I was like, I'm used to being kind of shamed by my old vet and this vet, because I was like, I did something stupid. I need your help. I need you to come out here and help me. And she was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I love when people do this. I get to live vicariously through you. This is going to be so fun. We're going to get them fixed up.
I get to charge you thousands of dollars for everything.
And that's the undertone is, I'm going to make so much money off of you. This is great. So anyway, I'm really excited to welcome this pony. Now, he came with a name. Yeah. But I have learned it's pretty darn close to Sam. Just any old cowboy horse name. But the problem is, I'm not going to tell you what the name is because I'm going to ask for our listeners' help. I find that when a horse makes a transition into a new life, they also need a new name. And I also think that because he's going to be posted, his journey is going to be posted on social media. I don't really know his whole history. I want to change his name so nobody can lay claim to him or think that I didn't do that. That was my old, I didn't do that. I want none of that. I want him to have a fresh start. Even though I did like his name, I want him to have a fresh start. So I'm going to post some pictures and I need y'all to name him. This is going to be the Horse Radio Network pony. Okay. All of y'all are involved and invested non-financially, but you're invested emotionally because I'm going to have to chronicle his journey because I will tell you that he for sure got his first ever blanket put on. And I had to go to 3 separate friends. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you, Larissa, for all working so hard to help me find a blanket that is a 62.
Did they tell you how big he was before you?
Yeah, they said he was 14 hands. And he unloads off the trailer and I go, oh my God, he's tiny. And the girl with him goes, yeah, we sticked him this morning. We measured him this morning at 14 hands. And I was like, What measuring tool did you
Did you
use?
measure his ears?
We measured him right up to the top of his head. Oh my God, he's so tiny. But then,
He's
then I
Scooter
have
size.
he's a little bigger than Scooter, thank goodness. But he's very hairy, but when you run your hands on the hair, it's like down the rib cage. He's not had a whole lot of good days. Bless his little heart. I don't know how old he is. I can't touch his face. He needs to he needs to have so many things done, and I'm just waiting. And the vet will be here on Wednesday afternoon after the show to basically top to bottom this pony. I'm sure he's never had his teeth done. I'm sure he's never had a vaccine. He's never had a deworming. He didn't know what grain was, Glenn. I still can't really get him to eat grain. He'll eat the hay, and grass hay, and he won't eat grain. I'm like, dude, this is like $900 a bag. Like, it's like liquid gold. Like, try this, No, he's like, I don't think so. So, which makes me think probably, without a doubt, he's got ulcers. So there's that too. He's top to bottom. He just needs to be worked on by the vet.
Congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted.
So I had to let the husband come down to see him. I said, what do you think I did? Because, of course, I got this while he was on a trip. And so, it's the adding an animal when your husband's out of town kind of thing. So he comes to the barn and he walks in and he looks at him and he goes, this is absolutely perfect for you. This is exactly what you need. And I'm really excited for you. I love him so much.
He's cute. He's cute. He's little.
Do you get the pictures?
He's little. He looks Scooter size. Let me tell you.
He's a little pony. So I'll post those pictures.
I like his buggy eyes that are popping way out of his head.
He is freaked out by everything. It's like,
well, he should be good with cows.
Yeah, he won't mind cows. That's for sure.
Well, congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted. Isn't it nice?
I did. Little freaked out, poor little sad little pony.
You know what I hear, right?
What?
You know what I always hear.
I know what you hear. It's going to be expensive, but it's none of your business.
No. I also hear this is good for the show. So
I told him we're gonna make so much money on him.
Anything that costs you a lot of money is great for the show.
I won't tell my husband you said that. Ditch the mats, upgrade to WERM flooring systems. WERM stands for We Eliminate Rubber Mats, because the constant struggle with heavy rubber mats sucks. Do you crave a more durable, easy to clean flooring solution for your trailer, barn, or any space, commercial or residential? WERM flooring systems are here to revolutionize your floors. Say goodbye to the mats and hello to non-porous surfaces, no liquid seeping through, making it easy for cleaning, good hygiene, slip-resistant grip, stay safe with exceptional traction, even in wet conditions like when your horse pees on the floor, then I go slip on it. Cushion comfort, reduce shock and fatigue for you and your animals. Textured surface so you can enhance the grip and prevent unwanted slipping. Safe and seamless experience, a smooth, continuous surface for easy cleaning and maintenance. And it's durable, built to last. It withstands heavy machinery and constant use. And it's a quieter environment thanks to the sound dampening properties. It also insulates your trailers and helps maintain consistent temperatures for your horses. So WERM Flooring Systems is the perfect choice for applications all over your horse property and in your trailer. We eliminate rubber mats. Thank you, WERM Flooring, for being such a good sponsor. Now you have something coming up with them.
Yeah, we when we go on our cruise at the beginning of February, we're dropping the trailer off and going to get our WERM flooring put in. I'm so excited.
Yay! Oh my God, you're going to love it.
It's WERM, WERM flooring.com is where you can find a dealer near you. But yeah, we're going to get it done. We're going to drop the trailer off and come back, and it'll be miraculously transformed.
Well, what you have to do is you have to take a picture of you guys laying down on the floor, because you'll never do that again.
No, not after the horses pee on it.
No, but for the first time, you have to take a picture of you laying in it.
We'll do that. And I'm so excited, too, because really it's time to pull up the mats and clean out underneath. And I said to Jennifer, well, we're bringing it in. We don't have to do that now. So.
If it's time to do that, that means it's way past time to do that. Who are you lying to?
Well, our first guest on the show today, I met at Equine Affair. I believe that's where I met her. And you all know her. She's been on the show before. She's from Braveheart Beasts. Her name is Kaleigh. And she does, you know her because she does Liberty work. She does clinics and mostly Liberty stuff. She does demonstrations. She does shows. She does bridleless riding. We know her for all of that stuff. She's absolutely delightful. And then I saw her post this on her Facebook page, and I said, oh, hell, we got to get her on to talk about that. Because you're going to do something really stupid next week.
Indeed I am, Glenn. Indeed I am.
Okay, tell us what this stupid thing is you're doing.
So I am headed to Mongolia to make a 180-mile trek across the Gobi Desert on camels in the dead of winter.
So first of all, I thought camels
Yeah.
were warm weather animals. I didn't know they did snow and stuff. And second of all, I didn't know the desert got that cold.
Yeah, so they're actually really hardy animals year round, and it's pretty impressive, the winter coats that they'll have on when we're out there with them. And the Gobi gets incredibly cold. It'll be sub-zero a lot of the days and the nights that we're out there. So
What, was it cold enough here in the United States you decided you had to go get colder?
Well, most people go somewhere warm
Yeah,
for the winter,
they
but I
do.
figure after this, home will feel warm to me.
Oh,
So
there you go. That's one way to look at it. Okay, so why? Why, Gary?
well, that's a good question. And a lot of my experience with horses has led me to connect with some pretty incredible people throughout my career. And I'm really an all or nothing kind of a person, which has also led me to travel to some pretty cool places. And every time I travel somewhere that's a little outside of my comfort zone or I meet somebody new, I end up discovering not only new places and new people, but I discover a lot about myself as well. And when it comes to training horses, I think the more we can understand about ourselves, the more we can improve the way that we show up in our daily lives, the more we can show up to help our horses be successful. So even though this might not really seem related to horse training, for me, being able to experience something so extreme and so far out of my comfort zone, I see it as a pretty incredible opportunity to just go somewhere amazingly beautiful and just raw and meet myself there and see what I can find.
You know, when you show up for your horses, too, they appreciate you having all your fingers and toes.
This is very true.
So this is not the first time. Chloe, right? Chloe Phillips Harris, who lives in New
Chloe
Zealand.
Phillips Harris.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's been on our show too. I think it was about the Mongol Derby or something. I don't remember. But,
Yeah, she is
she's the one that leads
amazing.
these crazy things, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
she is. So speaking of connecting with some pretty incredible people, I met Chloe for the first time at Horse World Expo in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania last March. And prior to that, actually a few years prior, I had been listening to Warwick Schiller's podcast, the Journey On podcast. And one of the very first episodes, pretty early on in the podcast, he talks about this amazing adventure he went on with his son across the Gobi Desert with this brave adventurer, Chloe. And for a long time, for me, it was just a story, but something that immediately went on my bucket list, or as Warwick would say, a reverse bucket list. So the opportunity to meet Chloe at Horse World Expo, her booth was right across from mine. And so we got to chat quite a few times, and we connected over Facebook and stayed in touch. So when the opportunity kind of dropped itself in my lap this year to go on this trip, I just couldn't turn it down.
Have you ever met a camel?
I have met a camel a few times. I've been on a camel once.
Okay. So-
I did too. It was at the zoo, and you pay $5 and they put you up on the back and lead you around. Is that how yours went?
It was something similar to that. Yeah.
So how do you prepare for something like this? I mean, obviously you just pack every cold weather thing you have.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty in-depth preparation so far. I mean, there's a lot of corresponding with Chloe, and she's communicating with people out in the field in Mongolia to keep track of weather. And they send you a pretty in-depth packing list. Like, it's not just grab your winter coat and a pair of gloves. There's a pretty intricate layering system that you have to bring with you. And you have to fit it all into a bag that carries about 20 pounds or less, because you're packing it. So you're going to be carrying it the whole way. But what's really cool is, in addition to all this pretty high-tech winter gear, you also send Chloe and the team, they had us take our measurements, like our clothing measurements, and they've made us handmade Mongolian deals, which is DEEL, which is a very traditional heavy robe and boots and a hat.
Well, that's
to
worth it right
withstand-
there.
I know. And you get to bring them home. So like not to be like a total tourist, but like how could you not?
So you're actually, how's your stomach anyway? Because, everybody, you're staying with the locals over there in the yurts, and everybody that's done the Mongol Derby gets sick at one point or another, eating the food and drinking the mare's milk. How are you with that?
So I'm pretty excited to try some of the cultural food over there. We're going to have a Mongolian cook that comes with us that's able to prepare Western food. I know. So this isn't as out there as you might think. I mean, private chef, no electricity or water. It's a trade-off. But they're able to prepare Western food for us. So food that's more similar to what we're used to here, but we also get to experience the food and culture over there if we'd like to. So I'm definitely interested in at least trying the mare's milk. I've been studying up on Mongolia since I get to go on such an incredible adventure over there. And that's a really traditional, it's a kind of a sacred thing for them.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. We joke about it, but it really is. It's important to them. And, Mongolia wouldn't, tourism from Mongolia now revolves around adventurous and horseback riders.
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy how popular Mongolia has become, and reindeer riding too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your next trip, isn't it? You're going to do the reindeer.
Honestly, after I signed on for this expedition with the camels, the next trip that Chloe posted had people riding camels, horses, reindeer, and yaks for 30 days.
Oh
Not just 12. Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
What is
so it's pretty incredible.
You're going to come on after you do this. You're leaving next week,
Yes, I'd
right?
love to. No, I leave on Wednesday.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
I'm packing my bags as we speak.
All right. So I can't wait to see all the pictures, and we'll definitely have you on after this adventure to find out all about it. What's the craziest thing you've done up to this point?
Oh my gosh.
Training horses like you do, but riding Roman and all that stuff.
Yeah. I've done up to this point. That is a really good question. I mean, the first thing that pops up for me would be my experiences with the friends I have over in England, with Ben Atkinson and one of his close friends, Oliver Phillips, because they're always kind of pushing the boundaries of what's comfortable, and getting to Roman ride with Ben and work with Ollie and his Spanish stallions in the airs above ground. And like Oliver was the one that taught me how to fire breathe and introduced me to kind of the art around fire, which has stuck with me for a long time, really since then. Those were some pretty crazy experiences too.
Well, last year was our year of badass women here on the show, and I think we're extending that this year with you.
I appreciate that.
Well, good luck. Please come back with all of your fingers and toes and your nose, too.
I will. Everything will be attached. I promise.
Good. Chloe wants to come on. Actually, she reached out to me last week, too. She's going to come on. She has a documentary coming out, too, that I can't wait to see. But I can't wait to hear all about this. I'm so excited for you. You get to do so many fun, cool things.
Well, thank you so much.
And we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right, Glenn. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks again.
Have fun.
Thank you, Jamie. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, bye. Well, coming up next is our third part in our Trailer 101 series. Today we're talking about the myths and misconceptions of trailers. And this is sponsored by Double D Trailers. But also, Cosequin ASU joint and hoof pellets contain quality ingredients to support joint and hoof health and leave out fillers of molasses and alfalfa, all while delivering the taste horses love. The colors of our ingredients shine through for a difference you can see. Visit CosequinEquine.com. And now on to our next trailer series.
Welcome to our monthly horse trailer series, brought to you by Double D Trailers. Find them online at doubledtrailers.com. That's double, the letter D, trailers.com.
Well, Glenn here, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of Horses in the Morning. One of the top requested segments we've gotten from listeners is about trailers and trailer safety. Brad Heath from Double D Trailers has agreed to help us with a 5-part series on trailers. Brad is the owner of Double D Trailers with over 25 years of experience in horse trailer manufacturing and the equestrian industry. In part 1, we spoke about the do's and don'ts of trailer hauling. In part 2, we talked about trailer configurations and layouts. And you can find both of those previous ones if you haven't heard them. Just go to horseradionetwork.com/trailer and you can listen directly to those. Now in part 3, we're talking about trailer myths and misconceptions. And I think this is a fun one, and I did ask for some listener input on this, Brad. So these are some questions from the listeners, or some things that I think are very common that we either have to say, is it a myth or not? All right?
Yeah. Good to see you, Glenn. Go easy on me.
One of the things that always comes up, is it safe to tie your horse to the outside of your trailer, to the little D-ring?
Wow. That's one of those questions that really doesn't have a yes or a no. Here's my opinion on this subject. There's really not a safe place on the trailer to tie a horse. You know, the first thing that happens, we custom build these beautiful works of art that cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and clients are so meticulous over their new piece of equipment. They don't want any scratches on it. And then the first thing we'll do is we'll go tie a horse to the side of it, and, you know, he just rakes his teeth across the paint, or he paws it, or there's a dent right out of the gate. But, you know, I've seen horses cut their legs on the lower portion of the trailer. They can get in between the tires and the fender wells and things of that nature. So my preference would be to not tie a horse to the exterior of the trailer, at least not on the tie loop itself. And I always, when we're positioning tie loops, you know, we try to get those away from the back door so that latches are not a factor. What I like better than anything that I've seen are these products called high ties or tie rights. I think there's a few on the market. We don't make those, but we do install them. And it's basically a rod that sticks out away from the trailer approximately 3 or 4 feet. The horse is secured from overhead, so there's no line hanging down for them to get tangled up in. And they can graze from it, and it just keeps them off the trailer. So I think it's much safer for the horse, safer for the trailer, probably safer for handler too, because you just don't have that horse right up against the side of the trailer.
The next one on the list is transport. This is very appropriate because the day we're recording this, we're getting like tornadoes all over the South and 100-mile-an-hour winds in Florida, and I've seen a number of reports today of especially RVs blowing over, and all of that kind of stuff coming in right now. And this was a question that several listeners had: is how do you determine if it's safe to transport your horses in bad weather? And they used heat, wind. I mean, wind was the big one today, but heat's also a consideration. So how do you know?
Sure. I think, the answer regarding heat comes down to the trailer itself. If it's an insulated trailer, then that's going to help tremendously. And obviously with good ventilation while you're traveling, roof vents, fans, things of that nature. We have client testimonials frequently that come back to us that say, hey, I hauled my horse from Southern California over to Texas. The temps were 100 plus degrees. They arrived. The horse wasn't sweaty or anything like that. So minimal stress, but it's a 100% insulated trailer. I did a video years ago and still on our site of a mill finish roof. And mill is sort of the natural shiny color of aluminum. It's unpainted. And this particular trailer did not have an insulated roof. And we took a temperature gun and walked inside and just held it up in the ceiling. And I think it got to 138 or 148.
Oh, fry an egg time.
Oh, man. It was so, you couldn't hold your hand on it. It was so hot. We kept the camera rolling, walked out of that one, walked over to the next trailer, stuck the thermostat up, and, it's like maybe 105 or something like that. So it was a significant difference. So the key to hauling in extreme temperatures, particularly heat, obviously just make sure you have good ventilation and insulation, more importantly. The cold aspect, if you're hauling in a stock trailer, I'd prefer to see those sides closed in with some plexiglass or something. And of course, you can use a horse blanket if needed during the colder environments. Wind, that's a great question. I had someone ask, or maybe it was in the questions that came up, of a formula that could be used.
That's what they were asking, actually.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'm not aware of one. Probably some mathematician that's a lot smarter than I am may have something. I did see something regarding the square root of 195 times the weight of the something, could determine how much wind it takes to move an object. And I think to blow a human, it was around 90 miles an hour from what I saw. But it has a lot to do with the trailer, the tow vehicle, the size of the rig, the weight of the rig.
And which way the wind is blowing.
Which way the wind is blowing is a crosswind component. When you look at RVs, RVs sit up much higher off the ground than horse trailers do.
And they're much boxier. Yeah.
The entire box is built, over the top of the axle, and then, it's all up, 13 feet tall or something. They're really tall. So you have a top heavy load, and it's almost like if you can imagine the wind blowing a pine tree that's 20 feet tall versus a pine tree that's 50 feet tall, the 50-foot tall pine is going to sway a whole lot more to the point that it can actually snap and break over. So keeping a horse trailer with a low center of gravity definitely helps with the wind blowing you all over the road. But, if you're hauling with a short wheelbase SUV, perhaps a Tahoe or an Explorer, something like that, and you have a 2-horse bumper pull that's fully loaded, a short base SUV is the tail end of that thing is going to get more squirrely quicker than what a long base would be, or perhaps a 3/4 ton truck or something along those lines. So I would say, and that's something that we can pose a question to for some more listeners. I'd like to get additional feedback on that, just for clients' input to say, hey, this is what I have experienced. So maybe we can plug that on a later show.
And we always had a rule, it's just a common sense thing. When it starts to feel squirrely and you're getting uncomfortable, then it's probably time.
That's correct.
Yep.
If you don't feel comfortable driving it, don't do it.
When you start getting nervous because the wind's blowing and your trailer's blowing, and it's one thing when a truck goes by and you're doing a little. We've discussed that in part 1, right. But when it starts to get that the wind's causing a problem, then probably is best to pull over, because it's indicating that there might be a problem. So
that's right.
Yeah. So this is a good one too. Aluminum is the best material to use for a horse trailer, hands down. Nothing else is allowed.
Oh man, folks are going to start throwing rocks at me, Glenn. Back in the day of whenever horse trailers were constructed, maybe, I don't know, we've got a history of trailers. I think the first one was 40s or 50s, but up until late 70s, early 80s, our choices of materials and technologies were limited.
Well, they were steel and wood.
Yeah, it's steel and wood. That's about it. And then, of course, the primers and paints and sealants, were not nearly what we have today from a chemical durability perspective. And, back in the 80s when, and I think Featherlight was one of perhaps the first companies to begin using that. Rodney Culp and his dad, they started Featherlight. I've met Rodney, super cool guy. And it was a great solution because suddenly you had something that was lightweight, it didn't rust, it looked great. And then two, I think there was the stigma of the pricing difference. Aluminum was much more expensive than what the steel was during that time period. And so if it costs more, it must be better. And from there, you just had so many manufacturers that continued to, what Peter does, Paul does. So if I see this guy do it and it's working for him, I'm going to do it myself. And so they just continued down that same path of, rather than innovating and trying to improve, as sort of doing, what's been working or kind of what we've always done. In manufacturing, when we started, I always felt that a steel frame was certainly the safest way to go. based on some properties of aluminum. And at some point, after we've been building 10 or 15 years, we started thinking, hey, maybe we need to do the same thing that everybody else is doing and start building aluminum trailers, because a lot of folks want those, right? And we did. We went through the whole process. It was a big deal to construct the factory to be able to have all the tooling and the dies and things. And, we learned so much. I only built just a handful of those things. And I'm like, I'm not going to continue to put my name on that. Aluminum is a very malleable material. And in order to get it where it's strong, it has to be thicker. And then from that perspective, it's not very forgiving, where steel will flex, and then it'll bend. Aluminum may not flex quite so much. And then once it fatigues, it's just going to crack or splinter or break. The other properties of aluminum that make it not necessarily the best choice of material for constructing a horse trailer, particularly in the roof and in the floor. It's like the video that I mentioned earlier of the heat absorption. Man, the aluminum's great for solar panels and pots and pans and cookware, but we're not looking to bake the horse. So that's not the smartest material to stretch in the roof. But why do manufacturers keep doing it? Well, it's because they can buy rolls of aluminum. It looks like tinfoil at the grocery store, except it's the width of your trailer. It's on a huge coil. A guy grabs it, pulls it from one end to the other. There's the whole roof of the trailer secured around the perimeter, and there's your top. With the flooring, same thing. Aluminum transfers probably more heat, noise, and vibration back to horses' feet and legs than any other material that I can think of that you would put in a trailer, compared to a wood floor, or there's all sorts of, other applications out there. So, I would just encourage folks to, sort of take a step back and think, if you are going with an all aluminum trailer, make sure at least that the roof is insulated. And the flooring, short story, I traded for a trailer many years ago, and it was sight unseen other than photos that the client sent to us. So we delivered the new one, pick up the old one, bring it back to the shop, go inside to clean the thing out, pull the mats back, and I could see daylight I could see the ground through the floor. And it had that extruded aluminum floor, and I was like, oh, man. And there's no way you can fix that, because it was the structure and, everything. And it was rusting out. And so a huge misconception is, I have an aluminum floor. It's not going to rust. It'll last forever. I don't have to do anything to it. But unfortunately, horse urine and aluminum over time, they don't mix so well. So if you do have a trailer with an aluminum floor, just make sure you pull those mats out, hose the thing down well, get all the dirt and debris and urine off of it, allow the floor to dry, and then pull those mats back in. So that's going to be key to maintaining that particular style of floor. I still don't think we can do anything to get away from the heat and the noise and vibration factor.
But I wanted to end on this one. All trailers are safe for all types of horses. So no matter what my trailer is, I can put any horse in it. Obviously, we talked about height before. We talked about configurations and size. Are there any other considerations that?
Yeah, well, I think that anyone can make the argument of all trailers are not safe. Every single trailer that's on the market isn't a safely laid out or designed trailer. For example, we've talked about the conventional style rear tack and the hazards associated with it. Even open stock side trailers, I've had horses get a leg through, and that's another nightmare. Or butt and chest bars with the horse having a leg over and you not being able to remove the pin to get the horse back over because of the pressure on it. And there are solutions to all of those. So, you just want to make sure that whatever trailer that you're using at least has the design function, even if we're not talking about the material, the floor, the structure, the roof, things like that. But the layout itself should be safe for horse and handler. If you're hauling a 17 plus warm blood with a foal, that's going to have a different need than what maybe a 14, 15 hand quarter horse would. And foals in particular, you have to make sure that the dividers are close enough to the sidewall, close enough to the floor, and then even the bars on top of the divider, that those are close enough that, a foal can't get a leg through on that. So, yeah, it really depends upon the application, the use of the trailer, and there's a lot of variables to look at versus just saying, yeah, sure, you can probably go get any trailer, throw your horse in it, hauling from point A to point B, and more than likely they're going to be there when you get there. But, I always tell folks, I've had people over the years say, well, I've been hauling for what years and I've never had any problem. And I said, well, you've never had a problem until you have one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
I've never been in an automobile
People say that about everything until they have
I'll be
one.
50 next year, but, I've never had one. Doesn't mean that I'm a safe driver or anything like that. It just means it hasn't happened yet, right? So you have to be prepared.
All right. You can find Double D Trailers at doubledtrailers.com if you want to go take a look. And you have a podcast. Give a plug for that.
Yeah, we do. We're having a lot of fun with the podcast. That is the Double D Trailers podcast. So just look us up.
Very good. And you can custom order trailers. You can take a look at all the different options. Our website's very good. And if you missed the first two parts we've been talking about, it's horseradionetwork.com/trailer. You can find them there. And then you can find Brad over there at doubledtrailers.com.
Your horse has unique feed needs, and Purina has you covered. From breeding and growing to senior horses, from performance horses to easy keepers and everything in between, including starving little Western ponies. Purina has an extensive portfolio of research-backed options for your horse. There's no shortcut for quality nutrition. Cheaper isn't cheaper if it doesn't work. Put Purina's research to the test. Find optimal nutrition at any level at your local Purina retailer or visit purinamills.com to learn more.
We did a bad dog list.
It was a list that I found on USA Today of the top dog breed in every state.
That's what and some of them were so bizarre we went, nobody has that dog in that state.
No. And to be fair, one or two of these was correct. But pretty much. So what I did is I surveyed our audience via the Facebook page and then through emails I got. And I mean, y'all really came through. Plus, then I had a couple states I just really needed to reach out to people. So I've messaged people from all over the country. So I did not mean to spend 4 hours on this yesterday.
Responses.
Mm-hmm. Chad was like, you just want me to make a spreadsheet? I'm like, listen, let me do it my way. Okay. Because it was like spreadsheet worthy. And we have the results. After 4 hours yesterday and 1 hour today, I have compiled the very non-scientific results of what dog is the most popular in what state.
With our listeners.
Even some of them are not listeners, Glenn. Okay. Some of them are just people that I reached out to.
Friends.
Listeners, people we know, friends, things like that. Friends of friends, all of the things.
Some people better than that other list.
Some people sent me dogs that their neighbor had and like dogs they had growing up and what state they lived in. I mean, people got really in depth. So yeah, I learned a lot about new breeds of dogs I've never heard of. We'll get to those as we go through them. But I'm going to let you know what the USA Today study said. And then you should see this this notebook that I have. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to read you what they said and what actually is real. In real scientific studies and data. I'm sure I probably spent more time on it.
All 50 states?
Yeah, let's go. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? As much as I've worked on this, you're going to sit here and listen to it, Glenn. So I'll just tell you what they said, and I'm sure I put more work into it than they did. So Alabama for them was the Australian Shepherd. Alabama for us is the Beagle.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Alaska for them was the Australian Shepherd. Alaska for real life is a Husky or a Husky mix.
Okay.
Duh.
Yeah.
How did they not get that? Arizona, they said Australian Shepherd, and it is confirmed the Australian Shepherd is the most popular dog in Arizona. Yep. Oh. Arkansas, they said the Australian Shepherd again, and what actually is in Arkansas is the Labradors. Labs. Boo-hoo, close
Which
second.
I think we could make almost any state if we do labs, yeah.
Well, California, they said that the most popular dog in California is the Bernese Mountain Dog.
Yeah, which we went, what?
Yeah. more on that later. But the most popular dog, there was a 3-way tie because the amount of listeners and people
Jack
that have
Russells.
dogs in California, not the most popular. First, again, no particular order. The Australian Shepherd, the German Shepherd, and a Corgi. Those were the top 3 California dogs. And there was some really cool dogs like Irish Wolfhounds and lots of other dogs, but I didn't. Corgi, German Shepherd, and Aussie. In Colorado, they said German Shepherd. In Colorado, it's actually a boxer. Makes me think y'all must really invest in dog sweaters.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Connecticut, they said bulldog. What really is in Connecticut is German Shepherds.
That makes sense.
With Great Dane is a close second, actually. Delaware, they said Boston Terriers. It's actually in Delaware, Border Collies and Huskies. Florida, they said the Bernese Mountain Dog.
Yeah, which I went, you got to be kidding me. No, it's Pitbull is Florida.
Actually, that was in there, but Blue Heeler was the number 1 dog. And
I would have guessed from where we live, it'd be Pitbull or Jack Russell.
I didn't have anybody submit a Jack Russell for Florida.
All these horse people didn't submit Jack.
Not one.
That's all we see down here. You
Some
go to WEC, all you see
Chihuahuas,
is Jack Russells.
Great Danes, like little fluffy dogs, Yorkies and things like that. Yorkie was pretty close there too, but Heeler was the number 1. In Georgia, they said Australian Shepherd and Bernese Mountain Dog. I think this study was by the Bernese Mountain Dog Society. In Georgia, the Labrador was the most popular, with a Spaniel coming in close second.
I would have guessed hunting dogs in Georgia.
Yeah, Labrador. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a bird hunting dog. Hawaii. I have to go to an email because I got an email from.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Pekingese.
In Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay. So Michelle sent me this email. Aloha, Jamie. I live in Hawaii. Now, remember, they said the Bernese Mountain Dog is the most popular in Hawaii. Aloha, Jamie. I live in Hawaii. I have never seen a Burmese Mountain Dog in 30 years of living here. The state dog of Hawaii is a pit bull. Every locally born dog has at least 1/4 pit bull, often much no more. Right now, I have a 50% pit bull, 50% Australian cattle dog mix, a common mix on the Big Island, and also a 50% pit bull hound mix. Love the show. And
that's
she sent
a long
pictures.
way from a Pekingese or a Pomeranian.
She said that there's just they're all on an island, and so they just interbreed.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just Spain and
No
Gals
Burmese
Hawaii.
mountain dogs mixed with the pit bull, apparently, though.
Not a one. In Idaho, they said Labrador. In Idaho, it's the Border Collie. In Illinois, they said Bulldog. In Illinois, it's the Boxer.
That's close.
In Indiana, they said Australian Shepherd. In Indiana, it's actually the Blue Heeler. Okay. Notice a lot of these are kind of horse type people dogs,
Yes.
but that's the study that we studied. Okay. In Iowa, they said Bernese Mountain Dog, and it's actually a lab. In Kansas, they said German Shepherd. It's the Coonhound. Lots of different types of Coonhounds.
That makes sense. Yeah.
In Kentucky, they said German Shepherd. I had a submission of 16 different dogs from Kentucky, and they were all the exact same dog. Do you want to guess what the dog of Kentucky is, Glenn?
Pit bull?
Mutt. I just kept writing down that it was like mutt. I mean, there was no discernible breed in Kentucky aside from mutt, according to my study. Okay, let's see. The next one was Louisiana. Louisiana, they said Labrador. It's a pit mix. Hands down, not even a question, pit mix. Maine, German Shepherd, they said, and Maine, it's the Maine dog in Maine is a mutt. Lots of mutts. Maryland, they said German Shepherd. It couldn't be more opposite. The most popular dog, according to my study in Maryland, is the pug. Massachusetts, they said Labrador Retriever. It's actually the Rat Terrier.
Yeah,
Actually,
I see that. Yeah.
A big big numbers on the rat terriers there. In Michigan, they said German Shepherd and Golden Retriever. It's actually the Australian Shepherd. The one time they didn't say Aussie, and
we
it
have
was
a lot of listeners with Australian Shepherds, don't we?
Yes, we do. And again, this was a really fun. So most people included photos of their dogs, which just made my day. So I loved everything about it. Minnesota. They said Lab and Beagle. It's actually the Border Collie. I didn't have one Lab or Beagle submitted. And I had a lot of Minnesota submissions.
Did you have any Burmese mountain dogs?
I'm going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
In Mississippi, they said Bulldog. It's actually a pit mix.
Yeah.
Any type of pit bull mix. Missouri, they said Australian Shepherd and Bulldog. It's actually the Boston Terrier. Missouri. Montana. In Montana, they said Australian Shepherd and Labrador Retriever. What was hands down the most popular dog in Montana was a herding mix.
Yeah, I would guess that too.
Nebraska, they said Labrador Retriever. The most common dog in Nebraska is the Beagle.
Really?
Yeah, who knows? I'm just going off what people told me. In Nevada, they said German Shepherd. In Nevada, well, it is hands down the Corgi.
I think we have a lot of listeners with Corgis too.
Yeah, we're horse people. New Hampshire, their dog was a Labrador Retriever. In New Hampshire, it's actually the Australian Shepherd. In New Jersey, they said German Shepherd. It's actually the Australian Shepherd. In New Mexico, they said German Shepherd. In New Mexico, I have to go to an email to find out.
Okay.
I just had to message somebody that I know who could give me a realistic picture of what it's like. And who else lives in New Mexico but Dr. Siemens?
And he sees dogs all the time.
So here's his email. Since I don't see dogs in practice, I really don't pay much attention to them, except when they bite me. Heelers are the most common offenders, but I have been bitten by one Australian Shepherd and 2 Jack Russells. Most ranch dogs in New Mexico are herding types, heelers, blue and red, border collies, but are most commonly the general American mutt. And they are the most fertile and thus often the most seen.
That's funny.
Gotta leave it to Dr. Siemens. Okay. Now, New York. New York, they said Australian Shepherd. This is the weirdest one. Do you know what the most popular dog in New York is, according to my study?
Gotta be a pit mix.
Great Dane. Great Dane. I think that's...
I'm surprised any of our listeners have Great Danes. I mean, you have horses. Isn't that big enough?
But you think about New York, like the cramped living spaces, I think of New York City. I know there's a lot more to New York. But yeah, Great Dane was the most popular. North Carolina was a bulldog, according to USA Today. North Carolina, according to our listeners, the dachshund, the wiener dog. North Dakota, I'm going to get so many angry emails about this, but just know I didn't make this up. New Jersey, they said that in New Jersey, it was, where's New Jersey? I lost New Jersey. Did I do New Jersey?
Gotta be a pit mix.
They said German Shepherd. It's the Australian Shepherd. Oh, I did that one already. Okay, New York and North Carolina. And now we're in North Dakota. North Dakota, they said German Shepherd. It's actually the Australian Shepherd. In Ohio, they said German Shepherd. Wait for it. In Ohio, hands down, the most popular dog. Oh, by the way, let me make this note about Ohio. Y'all have such a variety of dogs. We have so many listeners in Ohio, but we had Shar-Peis, Vizslas, heelers, dachshunds, basset hounds, a Coton du Tuileries, Portuguese water dog. But the most common that I saw from Ohio was the golden doodle.
Really?
Yes. I mean, there was huskies and mutts and labs and beagles and papillons.
I have heard they're really good dogs, though. The golden doodles are.
So many varieties of dogs in Ohio. It was amazing. Okay, we're going to go to Oklahoma, which I did have some say in.
What would you have guessed before this? Just by your observations.
Well, I guessed right, because the most common dog, and this was not just me. who sent this in. The most common dog in Oklahoma is the Basset Hound. And again, not just me, okay? Not just me. We did have some Aussies. We have Oklahoma had blue heelers and doodles and Basset Hounds and Shepherd mixes, but most sent to me was the Basset Hound. I'm so proud. Oregon, they said Labrador Retriever. It's actually in Oregon. It's the Lab. Hands down, Lab. Lots of dogs in Oregon. Lots of different kinds of dogs. I don't see why you would have an Italian Greyhound in Oregon, but you do. So I hope it wears a blanket. Pennsylvania, they said in Pennsylvania it was the Bernese Mountain Dog. In Pennsylvania, it's the Blue Heeler.
Yeah, I would have guessed a hunting dog. Yeah.
In Rhode Island, they said Burmese Mountain Dog. Actually, what's the most popular dog in Rhode Island, Glenn? It's the poodle. In South Carolina, they said bulldog. Not far off, it's the Boston Terrier. In South Dakota, they said Labrador Retriever. It's actually, and this was the only one on the list, and it was a close race in South Dakota between the Doberman, who was the winner, the Doberman. And we also had a couple French bulldogs that were scattered through there. Why in South Dakota? You take a French bulldog outside, it disappears.
Yeah, you'll never see it again until spring.
I'm going to have like a big tracker on it. In Tennessee, they said German Shepherd. It's actually the Australian Shepherd. Lots of different hound mixes, though, in Tennessee. In Texas, do you want to get? They said Bernese Mountain Dog. Do you want to take a guess what the most popular dog in Texas is?
German Shepherd.
No, they're too close to Mexico. It's the Chihuahua.
Okay, I should have guessed that. We know people with Chihuahuas.
I mean, there's a million kinds of dogs. Lots of terriers, but it was like every other dog people sent me was a Chihuahua. So
yeah,
Chihuahua it is. Utah, they said Bulldog. It's actually the Blue Heeler. Vermont.
Blue heelers in our group too.
Lots of, they're farm dogs.
Yeah.
Vermont, and they said German Shepherd is actually the Golden Retriever. I did learn a lot of different things like LBD and ARD, American Road Dog, and Little Black Dog. Those are breeds apparently in Vermont. Which I love. Mastiff. There's so many different types of dogs in Vermont. Let me just point out there was Golden Retrievers, Great Pyrenees, Rottweilers, Mastiffs.
For a tiny state, we have a lot of listeners there.
Yeah, lots of listeners in Vermont, but pretty much the Golden Retriever was the winner. In Virginia, they said on the USA Today study Australian Shepherd, and in Virginia, I actually came up with, or y'all came up with, the Border Collie and tied for a mutt. Virginia has Border Collies and mutts. That's what they have. Washington State, they said Bernese Mountain Dog. It was a Blue Heeler. Some type of heeler mix. Red heeler, blue heeler.
So their list was sponsored by the Bernese Mountain Dog Society, and ours is the Blue Heeler Society.
I guess so. I didn't get any money for this, so trust me. West Virginia, they said Bulldog, Labrador, German Shepherd, and Boxer. I didn't have any of those breeds on my list. West Virginia was the Beagle.
I would have guessed mutt in West Virginia.
Yeah. No, the Silken Windhound is heavily represented by one of our listeners. Has a lot of them.
Really? Silken.
Yeah. Silken Windhound. I know what they're like. The prettiest dog in the world. I love dogs. Wisconsin.
They are very pretty. They kind of look like a greyhound with hair.
Yeah. I do. And every time he posts a picture of his dog, I'm like, what kind of dog is that? I love it. Well, now I know. Wisconsin, they said Golden Retriever. It's actually in Wisconsin, the Jack Russell.
Finally.
And in Wyoming, they said German Shepherd. Well, I consulted several people that live in Wyoming, and every one of them has a Border Collie.
Border Collie, yeah.
Yes. Now, you ask a question, did anybody have a Bernese Mountain Dog?
Yes.
In North Carolina, out of this whole entire study, we had one Bernedoodle.
Oh. They combine those two?
Yes, and they're super
that's
cute.
That's gotta be an interesting looking dog.
Yes, Bernedoodle was the only Bernese Mountain Dog that showed up in the entire freaking study, and that was located in North Carolina.
Well, thank you for all your hard work for this. So what did we determine our most popular? If you look at the whole list with our listeners, the most popular is one of the collies, right? One of the
I'm going to go with Aussie, Border Collie, or Heeler.
Yeah.
Herding dogs.
Yeah.
Shocker.
So
Lots
you
of
think
mutts.
Jack Russells are out now and those are in?
I've had Border Collies since I was 15. So it's
But you go to horse shows and all you see is Jack Russells.
I don't. Do you still go to horse shows and see Jack Russells?
You see him over at World Equestrian Center.
I mean, I loved my Shorty Jack. I had a Shorty Jack, which one of our listeners also does have a Shorty Jack, which is like a mini Jack Russell, and he was really devious.
When we were over there the other day, come to think about it, I saw a lot less Jack Russells. So maybe they're just becoming less popular.
Maybe they realize that they're little tiny terrors.
Terrors. They'll tear your house
And I
apart.
mean that with all the love in my heart.
They'll tear your hotel room apart.
What our Jack Russell did was like, I cannot be caged. You cannot put me in a fence. I will get out of it. And he would come up with every way to get out of it. But he also demanded to ride in the front seat and sit on the dashboard. So
you got to remember, too, for 15 years, I went to people's houses doing financial planning. So for 15 years, I was in people's houses. And there was this one house, I'll never forget it. That Jack Russell would go from the countertop, take a flying leap onto the credenza, then a flying leap, knock all the papers we were talking about on the kitchen table. It never hit the floor. Went from one piece of furniture to the next, never touching the floor. The scariest time I ever had, though, was I went to this guy's house, and the entire appointment, we're sitting at his kitchen table. The two Dobermans are one sitting on either side of me, and they're sitting there staring at me for an hour. They never moved. I was so happy that guy didn't buy anything because I didn't have to go back. So,
yeah, they're waiting for the cue to kill you.
Oh, my God. It was awful. It was awful. Well, thank you for your hard work putting that one together.
Thank you. It was really fun.
Listeners.
And thank you everybody for sending me pictures and emails. And again, it was awesome. I enjoyed it. I was like, I got to go upstairs. Chad's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to do my dog study. Like 4 hours later, I was like, and he kept coming up. Do you need me to do a spreadsheet? I'll help you. I was like, get out.
Okay.
I have work to do.
Dr. Siemens gave you our next one. Which breed of dog have you been bitten by?
I need a break from studies, but I have been bit by twice, two different yellow lab mixes with pointy ears. They have pointy ears standing straight up. They look exactly like yellow labs, and I got attacked by a Doberman. Yeah. Yellow lab. I want to have a yellow lab mix, like mongrelly looking yellow lab mixes, and a Doberman is what I've getting bit by.
I knock on wood. I don't think I've ever been bit by a dog.
Well,
your time is come.
And when I worked at a vet tech, there was Travis the Chihuahua, but he was cage aggressive. Freaking Travis.
I think when you're a vet tech, you've been bitten by dogs. I mean, it's just.
Oh yeah, but these are like the two yellow lab mixes. They're like probably not even labs. They're the yellow shepherdy lab looking mixes with the ears that are pointy and they were yellow. Though both those dogs were tremendously vicious. And then the Doberman that I got attacked by when I was 12. Which left a scar.
So vet techs and groomers.
Oh, man, that's got to suck.
Stories to tell, too. Well, we've learned a lot in today's show. We've learned about camel riding in the desert. We've learned about what our listeners have in the way of dogs. We've learned about trailers. We've learned about all kinds of stuff today. And in the post show,
I got a pony.
And you got a pony. That's right. You got an interesting pony that's going to bring lots of stories to the show. So thank you for doing that.
Oh,
thank Chad for me, too. And then in the post show, we're going to hear about what your problems are in the Equestrian First World Problems segment, because I'm guessing 99.9% of them are weather related.
Oh, all of them were. I actually had to edit like a ton of them because y'all, I know it's cold. It sucks, but that's not a first world problem. That's a real problem.
That's a real world problem.
But we will hit on some of them that are weather problems.
So tomorrow we have a best of show for you. And then Jamie and I will be back Wednesday and Friday, Equine Affair on Thursday. So we have a full load of shows for you. Get your ads into Jennifer at horseradionetwork.com for really bad ads on Friday. And if you want to send a weird news story, we have a follow-up on a weird news story you did last week. I tagged you in it.
Oh, that's right.
That was interesting. I didn't realize that side of that story. So we'll have an update on that. And then if you want to send weird news stories, send them to Jamie at horseradionetwork.com.